Joining me now on this Monday in the group chat, Stephen Collinson, CNN Politics senior reporter, Sarah Fisher, CNN senior media analyst and senior media reporter at Axios, and Kevin Frey, Washington correspondent for Spectrum News New York 1. Kevin, I'm actually going to start with you just because you cover Congress really closely. Yeah. A state like New York made the midterms, right? Like very important. So what's significant about this moment with Texas?
Well, I mean, and look, some of these lawmakers are actually in New York right now as well. The governor there is supposed to meet with them today as part of all of this. When it comes to the balance of power in the House, it comes down to just a fraction of a margin, essentially. The margin's already razor thin. And so if you have 5 seats that could go then to the Republican column that might otherwise be in the Democratic column, that could be the entire ball game. We've seen this play out before in New York. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries is very keen on becoming Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, and so he is eager to do anything he can to make sure that he holds on to that.
The thing is, there's actually a history of a quorum break-in in Texas, basically, where in the past, even the state rangers were called in to use force to make lawmakers come back. You're nodding. You remember this back in 2021, and there is one person, a political science professor from the tells the Texas Tribune that there actually aren't that many options to force them to return. But there are some things, like they could take a novel aggressive measure, trimming the $20,000 monthly operating budgets given to House members to run their office, declaring the seats vacant, and triggering special elections. That's never been used.
And of course, there's the $500 daily fines for every day that they're away. But remember, when it comes to things like the $20,000 budget deficit or the $500 daily fines, this is what fundraising is for. And it's not just going to attract the interests of people in Texas. Nationally, I think you're going to have a lot of people who are interested in this, who are worried about what redistricting is doing to politics, who are going to come in and help to fund these through PACs. So I don't think that's the real issue. The seat vacancy thing, we've never seen that before. I don't know actually how that would work. The vote is supposed to happen today, so we'll get a little bit more information. But I'm watching, you were mentioning New York, also Illinois Governor Pritzker coming in and hosting a bunch of these Democrats. You're starting to see.
Let me let you hear what he had to say. He was speaking just Sunday night, welcoming lawmakers to his state.
All bets are off when the cult leader and would-be dictator of the United States tells Texas to midstream change the game when they know that they're going to lose in 2026. All bets are off. Everything's got to be on the table.
It's a national issue. This is not just a Texas thing. You're going to see a lot of Democratic governors, Democratic lawmakers and activists come out in support of these Democrats because it's not just what it means for the state, it's what it means for the entire House, to your point.
Well, hold on 1 second, because Stephen was writing that basically you're like, gerrymandering is not just a thing Republicans do, but what do you see as different here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key thing. Why is this different? Because gerrymandering, drawing seats up for political advantages, has been going on for generations. What seems to have happened here is that the president called on his friends in Texas to open up this issue halfway through the normal 10-year cycle, specifically openly to try and get more seats, to try and keep this very narrow House majority. So that's come to another level. Now, the question is, how do Democrats respond? Leaving the state, that's a temporary solution. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has talked about, well, if you can do it in Texas, we can do it in California. Some of the laws are a little bit more difficult in some of these Democratic states, so it may not be possible. But at the end of the day, what you're having is politicians choosing their voters rather than voters choosing their politicians. The long-term effect of that is that when a leader gets elected and says we're going to change things, and they can't change things because the system is so polarized and deadlocked, voters get disillusioned. They say the system is broken. We need a strong man, a populist. The only kind of guy that can fix this, Donald Trump.
And this is also fed in to some extent the fact that the executive branch has become really the nexus of power here in Washington, and nothing else really can get done because Congress is so polarized.
All right, you guys stay with us. We're actually going to hear from one of those Democrats who left the state later in the show. I'll be talking with the Democratic Party chair who's in Chicago. We're going to talk now with the group chat about this firing, which was a pretty much a scandal over the weekend, hearing a lot of lawmakers talk about it. I want to start with you, Stephen. I just had a conversation with someone about jobs numbers and young people. And I was able to do that because of data. Yeah. So what is significant about this moment?
The problem is, if you don't have trust in the jobs numbers, they underpin so much of the economy. It's not just, the monthly jobs number, which I think arguably people take too much attention to, especially in a political context. It's how banks and companies and organizations make big decisions about how they're going to maneuver in the economy. So once that trust is gone, you're on a very slippery slope. And what appears to have happened is that the president took exception to one set of numbers, particularly the big revisions down from previous months. That happens all the time because that's one of the ways you get a good long-term picture of what the job market does. And the president didn't really mind when there were revisions upwards, but you get into a very difficult situation. And if the country, if companies and investors can't trust those numbers, that chips away at the stability
and you pointed out,
and the trust on which American prosperity is based.
There's countries under which that is the scenario.
Argentina, Greece, they both basically lied about the growth, jobs and inflation numbers, and they ended up pitching into financial crisis. That's not necessarily going to happen here right away, but it is a slope you go down.
So Kevin Hassett, the director of the White House Economic Council, is actually defending the firing on Sunday. Here's how he explained it.
The president wants his own people there so that when we see the numbers, they're more transparent and more reliable.
Does the administration have any evidence that it was rigged, as the president said? And will you be presenting that to the American public?
Well, the evidence is that there have been a bunch of revisions that could appear
hard
to
evidence?
partisans. Oh, I mean, the revisions are hard evidence.
None of this shocks me, Audie, because when I was covering earlier this year, a major copyright report came out from the U.S. Copyright Office lead Shira Perlmutter, and it said that AI was essentially damaging IP creator economy companies. What happened the very next day? Trump fired Shira Perlmutter. It's a very similar situation. He did not like what that report had to say because Donald Trump is investing a lot in the AI economy. Perlmutter is gone. So when I see something like this happen, to me, this is just the next example of Donald Trump firing somebody over data reporting that he doesn't like. The question becomes, to your point, Stephen, how is this sustainable? Are you going to fire every single official when something comes out that you don't like? Eventually, you're not even going to be able to fill these positions as fast as you fire them.
And Larry Summers, who's been talking a lot actually about the economy, but he took some time out when he was asked a question about this over the weekend. And here's how he described this decision by the president to fire the person in charge of jobs numbers.
There's no conceivable way that the head of the BLS could have manipulated this number. The numbers are in line with what we're seeing from all kinds of private sector sources. This is the stuff of democracies giving way to authoritarianism.
He's not usually the guy using that word.
No,
so it's sort of an interesting moment.
This goes back to just a fundamental basic of democracy, which is that you can only operate in a democracy if everyone has some shared degree of facts and we're not just making things up as we go along to appease one person or the other. The other thing that's remarkable about this individual that was, until a few moments ago, in charge of these numbers, is she was confirmed on a bipartisan basis, including by the man who is now in the vice president's office.
One other thing I want to add to this, which is that I was thinking about something like jobs numbers. Real people feel them, right? We know what it's like when you try and tell the voters, you're not feeling something that's happening.
That happened in the Biden administration when they said inflation was transitory. It was something we don't really need to worry about. Everyone saw their grocery bills going up, and that did a lot to undermine support for the Democrats in the last election. If you see people losing their jobs around you, you don't need these numbers to tell you. Most people,
the
apart from
numbers
in
just
Washington,
confirm
don't
what
really
you're
care
already
about
feeling.
What the jobs numbers are. Most people only see the jobs numbers a few days before an election, and it's like, oh, it's really good for the president or really bad for the president. But people can see that in their own lives, so you can cover up so much. The problem is, what happens next month? We get a new BLS commissioner, which the president says will happen in 2 or 3 days. If the numbers are bad, do they get fired? Or if the numbers are good, does anybody believe them?
Yes, and I'm not going to be able to play this, but Trump's former chief of labor statistics actually brought this up, saying, look, people are going to suspect the new person is basically under political influence and damage the credibility of the numbers. You guys stay with me. I always take note, whether it's Rogan or a Portnoy or whoever, because these people were such, not kingmakers, but certainly had influence during the election, and their fan base is like independent voters, male voters. What do you see in this?
I thought that was very interesting for a number of reasons. First of all, that it was on Lara Trump's show, who seems to have more tolerance for this kind of dissent, if you like, from the Trump position than the president himself. It's amazing how Trump has basically got a view on everything, whether it's gene ads or this thing.
He contains multitudes.
He's like everywhere, and I think that, to some extent, is a key to his appeal because he's in touch with people. What Charlemagne said about the 2028 election was interesting as well. He said that Trump, like President Obama, was a political juggernaut, and someone trying to be like him would not necessarily be successful in the coming Republican Party. I think that may
having
be
that
more
facility with
to
the culture.
Than his point about, the old Republicans coming back.
Here's also what he said about who he would like to see as a potential contender for Democrats in 2028.
I would love to see Jon Stewart run in 2028. If we're talking about like a change agent coming from the outside that's really going to shake things up, and somebody that I feel like can speak to, all people. Plus, he's a celebrity who actually knows what they're talking about.
People are looking at celebrities. Stephen A. Smith, obviously, the sports personality is thinking about this. For a time, Democrats would be like, if only Oprah would run, if only this person would run. So what do you hear in this?
We do this every single cycle. We talk about all the celebrities that are going to run, and then eventually that's not the case. I think you're going to see established Democrats who are governors and senators who come out and try to win this.
Maybe the one that was hosting some Democrats.
They have pretty great lives, Audie. I mean, Jon Stewart right now, he's hosting The Daily Show. He gets to live his life as a private citizen. To step into the political arena, I don't think a lot of people actually want to do that with their lives. They can make powerful impact without having to run for office. He's never been somebody that's once suggested that he wanted to get his, hands dirty in politics. I can't see why he would do it right now.
I do hear someone like Charlemagne, though, saying, look, you need somebody who's in touch with the culture, to your point. Trump is in touch with the culture. So, again, why not? Doors open.
I mean, I
Those
agree.
eyes. Oh,
I agree with Sarah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you're going to have a host of Democrats that are lining up already. The Pete Buttigieg's of the world, the J.B. Pritzkers. I mean, the list goes on from there. That's what the primary field's going to be. Also, Jon Stewart works on Mondays and only Mondays now. Why would you throw all of that away?
Okay, you guys. I want to talk about what's in your group chat. If it wasn't this, what was it?
I've been thinking about AI to the point with your guest earlier. Kids are graduating from college, and that's a big concern about how is the job market going to get affected. And there's also the question of how this plays into politics in the long term. We saw how the loss of blue-collar jobs in industrial states fed into years of discontent and led to the populism of Trumpism and Bernie Sanders. If you have a new generation of kids who can't get jobs, that's going to have a political impact as well.
All right, you guys?
We've been talking so much about Paramount, the parent company to CBS, capitulating to Donald Trump, settling with him, canceling Steve Colbert's show. They did that to get their merger deal approved. That deal is supposed to close this week, so I'm watching for what's next after the deal closes.
Nice. Kevin, last word to you.
So one of the things I'm keeping an eye on is because of the One Big Beautiful Bill, they've cut back on a lot of these solar tax credits, and a lot of these solar companies are now seeing a sudden rush of people trying to get kind of the last minute advantage of this. But there's also now a fear of what happens come January when the tax credits go away. I was talking to one business owner in New York who's already fearing about the possibility of having to start laying people off, an industry that seemingly was burgeoning and now could falter as a result.
I'd make fun of you, but on the House listservs where people talk about their house all the time, the solar panel thing is a real conversation. Thanks to the group chat. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Audie Cornish, and CNN News Central starts right now.